guys, continuing with my 2-year follow-up reviews of HEMA gear that I've owned and sparred with, I want to talk about my first HEMA helmet, the Absolute Fencing Gear Basic HEMA helmet. This was a cheap entry-level helmet that I bought when I was first getting into HEMA, just because I wanted my own helmet and I didn't want to use the club loaner helmets that my club had because they contain many other people's sweat and it gets pretty nasty. I picked up this helmet because, again, it was on the low end of the price range, and there were overlay occipital options for it, so I said, might as well start with this and build up from there. This has been an okay helmet to own, but I will say that I have since moved on and would not go back to this helmet if given a choice. I think that it is a good helmet for beginners who just need a basic helmet to start taking lessons, to start feeling what sword-on-sword contact feels like, to do class drills, things like that. For sparring, I don't think it's a very good helmet, and I'll go over why that is in detail here. Essentially, this is a fencing mask. There's nothing super fancy about it, and there's nothing HEMA-specific about it. So I find it interesting that Absolute Fencing lists this as a basic HEMA helmet, when really we're looking at basically a 3-weapon or coach's helmet. It doesn't have any special features for HEMA. It doesn't have extended head protection. It doesn't have back of the head protection. It doesn't have any sort of reinforcement on the inside. This one's a very basic model that doesn't even have a removable bib, which I'll show you this up close. It is fairly gross. Yeah, it's just it's so simple and run-of-the-mill that it definitely makes for an okay beginner's helmet because it does that. It protects your face, and that's about it. Again, for heavy sparring, I don't think this is a great helmet because I've worn this for heavy sparring, and I took some really nasty head hits while wearing it. I'll see if I can put it on to kind of demonstrate why I think that is. And hopefully this doesn't affect my volume too bad. But when I'm wearing the helmet, the mesh is very close to my face. And if I take a hit, the mesh will actually get pushed towards my head. Some of the newer helmets that I've looked at, for example, the PBT 1600N HEMA Warrior Mask, when you have your face in it, when you have your face in a helmet like that, it is much further away from the mesh. So when you take a hit, the mesh has to travel farther and never really gets to your face. I'm not going to go too in-depth into that helmet because I'm probably going to do a review of it soon. Matt Easton also has an excellent review of that helmet out already. It has reinforcement bars and a bunch of other features that are perfect for HEMA practitioners. This helmet has none of that. You'll notice that I made some modifications myself. Let's see if I can, yep, they pretty much show up. These are MICH pads, Modern Infantry Combat Helmet pads that I put in the front to basically reduce the impact that I was getting from the mask. And even for, well, mostly during sparring. For classes and drills, it wasn't really a problem. When I started sparring with this helmet, if I took a good whack to the top of the head here, I would get waffle marks immediately, which is the mesh, cutting your skin and leaving a grid-like pattern. Those pads did help a bit. However, other parts of the mesh would smack into other parts of my face and continue to give me those waffle marks. I've also added pads here, a little harder to see, but here and here I added pads just for some additional kind of top of the back of the head protection. And when I was sparring, I would wear a SPES overlay with it that would cover the neck, the top, and back of the head. That overlay was okay, but didn't really offer a lot of additional protection to the face. And I was, anytime I got a hard enough hit in the face, I would get those waffle marks. So, yeah, and if I move this past the light a little bit and try to shift it around, try to see if I can make this work, you'll notice that I haven't taken a lot of serious dents to the helmet. It is still structurally sound, but you'll notice as I move around, there are many, many, many smaller dents to the face of the mask. They are pretty hard to see, honestly, but that is good because it never took, it's never taken a hit so hard that the mesh completely collapsed. And there's actually a fairly large one right there, right here at the top. So it's never taken a hit so hard that the mesh collapsed, but it has taken so many little dents that I started to worry about its structural integrity and ended up purchasing a new mask that is more HEMA specific, that being the PBT 1600N HEMA Warrior Mask. That's a mouthful. In terms of how it is held up otherwise, as I mentioned, and as I moved the mask in, this one does not have a removable bib. I have tried to clean it quite a few times, but you'll see major discoloration from multiple things. Mostly my sweat, my nasty sweat, but also my leather, my brown leather gorget tends to rub against this and get the leather color onto it. The inside of the mask itself gets, again, pretty sweaty. I mean, your head is encased in this thing, so where else is the sweat going to go? I've tried cleaning it with rubbing alcohol and other things, and I've had limited degrees of success. For the most part, it's a pretty dirty helmet. Yeah. I will say that every part of it has held up. Nothing has structurally collapsed. So again, for someone who is a beginner in HEMA and just needs a basic helmet just to protect their head while they are doing class drills, light controlled sparring, I'll say, this is a good helmet. Once you get into full speed, full force, tournament sparring, open sparring, continuous sparring, whatever your club likes to call it, when you get into full impact sparring, I think it's time to get a new helmet. That's my opinion in a nutshell, really, on this helmet. Just seeing if there's anything else I can go over with this. Yeah, really just, again, to say, this is not a HEMA-specific helmet. This is closer to a 3-weapon fencing mask. It puts your face very close to the mesh. The padding that's in it doesn't try to keep your head away from the mesh at all, unlike the PBT mask. It has no built-in back of the head protection, no built-in extra top of the head protection. This is, for all intents and purposes, a fencing mask, not a HEMA helmet or mask. So, again, buyer beware there. If you want a more HEMA-specific helmet or mask, they are out there. If you just need a basic fencing mask, this one will do quite well and will last you at least 2 to 3 years. Though you may need to clean it pretty often. And be aware of the dents that the mesh is taking, because if you get a serious enough dent, you should discontinue use of the mask. Dents can structurally compromise the mask, so if you get a big enough one, it's time to look at getting a new mask again. So there you have it, the Absolute Fencing basic HEMA mask, which again is really a 3-weapon fencing mask. 2 to 3 years later. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks again for watching. Please hit subscribe and check out some of these other videos.